Right now, as you're watching this, there are millions of men across the world living in a reality they cannot even recognize as abuse. They wake up every morning, go through their days, and come home at night, believing they are being good husbands, good boyfriends, good men. They think patience is strength, that sacrifice is love, and that enduring endless criticism and rejection is just what relationships demand. But beneath the surface, something far darker is happening. These men are not partners in love. They are prisoners in a war they cannot see. This war leaves no broken bones, no bloody faces, no calls to the emergency room. Instead, it attacks in silence, in whispers, in carefully timed sighs and cutting remarks. It destroys not the body, but the mind. It doesn't strike all at once, but slowly, steadily, until the man who once laughed loudly, dreamed boldly, and lived freely is reduced to a ghost of himself. He looks in the mirror and barely recognizes the eyes staring back. And the most tragic part of it all is that many of these men will never realize what happened until it's far too late. We are taught to see abuse in very clear images, shouting, hitting, bruises that can be photographed. But what about the kind that leaves no visible scars? The kind that looks like silence that lasts for days, as if you don't exist. The kind that feels like ridicule every time you open your mouth to speak about your dreams. The kind where your every choice is mocked until you stop making choices at all. These wounds cannot be shown to anyone. No one can see a picture of loneliness. No one can prove that they were gaslit into doubting their own memory. No one can measure the slow death of a man's self-worth. It often starts with something small, a sarcastic comment that stings, a roll of the eyes when he shares an idea, a dismissive laugh when he celebrates an accomplishment. One moment means nothing, but repeated over weeks, months, and years, it builds a cage around him. Soon, he questions whether his ideas are even worth sharing. He doubts whether his achievements mean anything. He begins to shrink, to withdraw, to disappear into the shadows of his own relationship. And then there is the silence. Silence is one of the cruelest weapons. A woman angry or displeased can withhold affection, attention, even basic acknowledgement. He can sit beside her and feel like he is invisible. Every attempt to bridge the gap is met with colder walls. She knows the power this has because humans are wired to seek connection, and when it is denied, the ache can be unbearable. He is punished not with words, but with absence. And over time, he learns to fear that absence so much that he bends himself into knots trying to avoid it. Gaslighting is another strike in this invisible war. She twists his words, rewrites his memories, denies things she clearly said, and insists on things that never happened. At first, he argues, confident in what he knows. But soon, after endless battles where he's always made out to be the villain, he starts to wonder if maybe she's right. Maybe he is too sensitive. Maybe he does overreact. Maybe he is the problem. And the second he accepts that thought, the war is nearly won. Because once a man doubts his own mind, he is no longer standing on solid ground. What makes this kind of abuse so dangerous is how it erodes identity itself. A man might walk into a relationship with big dreams, hobbies, and passions. He might have a group of close friends, a career he cares about, and a confidence in who he is. But slowly, one piece at a time, those things are taken from him. The friends stop calling because he never shows up anymore. The hobbies gather dust because he feels guilty spending time on them. The laughter fades from his voice because every joke is criticized. The man who once stood tall begins to slouch under the invisible weight. What remains is a shell of who he once was, existing not to live but to keep the peace. And it is not always accidental. Some women know exactly what they're doing. They learn their partner's fears and weaknesses and weaponize them. They use guilt like a dagger, shame like a chain, and emotional withdrawal like a chokehold. They perfect the timing of their criticisms so he never feels stable. They cry on command to reverse the blame, painting themselves as the wounded party, while he is made to feel like the abuser. It's not love. It's not partnership. It's psychological chess, and every move is designed to weaken his spirit. The question people ask is simple. Why doesn't he leave? Why doesn't he fight back? The painful truth is that society has never allowed men that choice. From childhood, boys are told to be strong, to endure, to never complain. A man who admits he is being hurt by a woman is ridiculed, laughed at. Imagine a man saying, "My wife mocks me daily, withholds affection, twists my words, and makes me feel worthless." Most people would shrug. Some would laugh. Some would accuse him of being dramatic. So he stays silent. He convinces himself that it isn't that bad, that he can handle it, that real men don't complain. And in that silence, the abuse thrives. To the outside world, she appears flawless. At family dinners, she smiles and laughs. On social media, she posts pictures of vacations, anniversaries, and gifts. Friends compliment her as supportive, kind, and loving. Nobody suspects that the same woman who beams in public can be icy, cruel, and manipulative in private. And if the man dares to open his mouth, who believes him? People say, "But she seems so sweet." Are you sure you're not just overreacting? He is doubly trapped, abused in private, dismissed in public. This cycle becomes addictive. She tears him down until he feels worthless. Then, just when he is broken, she offers him a scrap of kindness, a smile, a touch, a rare affectionate word. The rush of relief he feels is powerful, intoxicating. For a moment, he believes everything will be okay. But soon the cycle repeats. Destruction, withdrawal, kindness. Repeat. It is the same conditioning used to train animals. He begins to crave the very person who hurts him because only she can also soothe him. That is the cruel genius of psychological violence. It creates loyalty through pain. The longer he stays, the more the cost grows. Anxiety gnaws at his mind. Depression seeps into his soul. Sleep becomes impossible as his mind replays every argument, every insult, every moment of shame. His career suffers because he can't focus. Friendships fade because he isolates himself. Some men drown the pain in alcohol, drugs, or reckless behavior. Others simply shut down, numb to the world. And for some, the silence becomes unbearable, leading them to a darkness from which there is no return. These men don't just lose relationships, they lose themselves, and sometimes their lives. Escaping this hidden war requires recognition. A man must first allow himself to admit what is happening. He has to accept that what he feels fear, shame, confusion is not weakness, but evidence of abuse. Love is not supposed to feel like constant self-doubt. It is not supposed to feel like walking on eggshells. Once he names the truth, he can begin to break the silence. He can reach out to friends he trusts, to communities that understand, to professionals who see what others refuse to. He can begin the long, painful process of rebuilding the man he used to be before the war began. And here's the truth that society doesn't want to say out loud. Women can be abusers, and men can be victims. Both realities can exist at the same time. Pretending otherwise doesn't protect anyone. Denying it only ensures that more men suffer silently while the world looks the other way. The more we ignore it, the more invisible cages are built, cages made of shame, silence, manipulation, and control.